information today. So my name is Mary Ann Tejan, and I am the Assistant Director of Student Employment. And I'm just going to talk about 15, 20 minutes or so about getting your students to work, if that's something that you and they both choose. Student employment, I'm located in the financial aid office, so I don't have student employment signage, but you'll look for me in the financial aid office, which is in this building on the ground floor. So right next to where your student gets their ID card picture taken is the financial aid office. You'll find us there. There's one of our federal work study students, Paige, who has worked her way up to a lot more responsibility, and she's actually an intern now in our office. And Paige and I and our team, we help your student navigate through the student employment process. We're here to support your students as they try to find their on-campus employment. The part-time student workers play an important role in really all of our departments on campus. And students have the opportunity to work part-time really in a variety of jobs, from helping in a science lab to working at a front desk to refereeing intramural flag football games, all opportunities for them to earn some money on an on-campus job. We've got over 2,500 students that are earning through really two main avenues. And this is where I'll kind of veer off a little to talk about federal work study, because if your student qualified for federal work study, there are a few extra steps that they'll need to do for their employment process. For those of you that your student does not have federal work study, be patient. The whole process is gonna meet up here in just a minute. So let's talk a minute about federal work study. Federal work study is part of your student's financial aid package based on their FAFSA results. If they were awarded federal work study, the standard amount that Creighton awards is $2,200 for the year. Now that's a potential of earnings. Students don't get that $2,200. That's why you won't see that come off your bill. It is a potential earnings that they work to earn their paycheck. And it is a paycheck to the student. It is not a paycheck to, again, it does not credit towards their tuition bill. On average, federal work study students, they use that $2,200 earnings potential from August to May. It averages out to be about 8 to 10 hours a week. Starting wage for federal work study and for most starting jobs here for student employees is $9 an hour. That's Nebraska's minimum wage. For those of you that your students have federal work study as part of their financial aid package, they are getting email reminders, if they haven't done so yet, to go into their NEST account. That's where they'll see their financial aid award, their scholarships, if they have a grant, if they've got loans. They'll see federal work study there. They would need to accept that offer of federal work study. From there, that puts them in the communication process with my office for all the next steps. The first one being their online federal work study agreement. So that link would be in their email for them to do. That's just a really, a brief form for them to fill out, and it also teaches them about the work study program. And then finally, they will have a link to Handshake. Handshake is Creighton's online job posting board where students can look for and apply for jobs. Now, this is where we come back to where both sources meet up again, whether your student is federal work study eligible or whether they're not and they would like an on-campus job. All of the students have an account on Handshake. So that's something you can put on your to-do list for all of the students, is to say, hey, show me Handshake. And you just go to Creighton's website, you look at Handshake, you click on it, and it's single sign-on. They'll log in with their Creighton email and their blue password that they've created. It's Creighton's online career management system. It is one that they will use now as an incoming freshman. They can get in to start to apply, all the way through when they start looking for internships, when they start looking for summer internships, maybe out of state, and as an alum, they will still have access to Handshake. And that's where it can be a little overwhelming when your student, let's say tonight they go to log in. When they log in, it's gonna ask them to set up a profile. You can postpone that, skip through those they don't need to upload a picture yet. You can skip through those first steps, but then it can be overwhelming because it will start to show them jobs in San Francisco or in Austin or on the East Coast. It's like, no, I just need, I want to work at Campus Rec at Creighton. So there will be some on-campus job filters that they can use to really filter down to the on-campus jobs. This is what the Handshake login screen looks like. Talking about those filters, when they log in, they'll go to jobs and there's an on-campus job filter. If they log in tonight, they're not going to see too many jobs right now. Summer hiring was posted back in April and May. There's a few jobs out there right now, but for jobs that start in August, they'll see those as the summer progresses. I tell students maybe weekly log in and see if there are any new jobs. Federal work-study students, however, they will see if they're work-study eligible, they should have an additional filter. It's a checkbox that says work-study. And for the work-study eligible students, there are about 75 work-study jobs posted right now. And that is something your work-study students will want to put this towards the top of their list to get in there and look and apply for those jobs, because we are hiring right now. So some of those jobs that students think are very desirable, you'll see those will start to fill and then they will no longer be posted. So if they've got their heart set on a certain area they'd like to work, I'd encourage them to log in sooner rather than later. When a student is looking for a job, and if they're on Handshake and they're not seeing something that they particularly are interested in, if they know they really would like to work in the ticket office in athletics, or if they loved their admission process here and they would really like to be a tour guide after they get here to Creighton and learn a little bit more about Creighton and the campus, but they really have their heart set on that job and they're not seeing it out on Handshake. Old school rules apply, just like they do for us in the real world. Some jobs are word of mouth. They see a tour guide, they would like that job, they might want to talk to that student and ask, how did you get that job? If they want to work in a certain department, they really are enjoying their chemistry class, they may want to approach their chemistry professor or get to know the administrative assistant in the chemistry department and introduce themselves and express interest in working in that department. All sorts of ways to network to find that job. If they're really at a loss and don't know where to start, that's where I would expect to see them in my office or emailing me at studentemployment@creighton.edu, and I can help them navigate on where to find the hiring supervisor in that interest area. Once a student is hired, whether they're a work-study student or a regular student employment, we have some guidelines and some federal laws that students need to follow. At Creighton, during the school year, students are limited to 29 hours per week for all campus jobs combined. And that is irregular for a student to be working that many hours. That's federal. At Creighton, our policy is we don't like to see undergraduates working more than 20 hours a week because of their academic load. And that is all jobs combined. They could be a tour guide in admissions, reffing that intramural game, and sitting at the front desk in the financial aid office. All Creighton jobs combined is what we would add up that total to do. Now during breaks, if your student is in Omaha on campus, fall break, Christmas break, spring and summer, that's where they could work up to 40 hours a week. Again, that's all campus jobs combined. Federal work-study students have more limitations. They're limited to that award, that $2,200 award as part of their financial aid package. Can a federal work-study student, though, take a non-work-study job to exceed those hours? Absolutely, just like they could have more than one job. International students, if we have any international students and families here, we would want to have a separate conversation about your visa requirements. Pre-employment forms. When your student comes, whether you're going to try to get a jump start on this tomorrow or on move-in day, there's really specific things that students tend to struggle with in the pre-employment process, and some adults for that matter. One of them is the federal I-9 form. It's an online link that I send the student once they've been hired. And what trips people up sometimes is that original document that people have to bring in order to have their I-9 verified. So the I-9 has that 2 steps, the online form that again, they get emailed directions on how to log in. But before they can work and before their work study assignment is released for them to begin to work, the student needs to report in person with an original document to have their I-9 verified. So it needs to be the student with the original document in person in our office. The most popular documents students bring, if they have a passport, they should come to campus with a passport or a social security card, the original, or birth certificate with the raised seal. So one of those original documents needs to come to campus, and if you've got them, if you brought them, work study students got an email encouraging them to bring it. If they've got that, I would love to see you in my office tomorrow. It's a nice kind of calm time to get the I-9 done. If not, if you didn't bring that, that's okay. I just can't accept an emailed version of it. When you come in August, make sure that that's on your packing list, that your student brings one of those documents. And I am also at move-in day on Saturday the 17th. So the student can come, if you are here also on move-in day, we'll have that document for about 2 to 3 minutes and we can hand it back and you can take it home. Because their I-9 will be good for all of their on-campus jobs as an undergrad. It's not a process that has to be done each time a student is hired. It's one and done. This is probably the biggest thing I want you to remember. W4, I'm not gonna spend a lot of time on this, and I've got these down in my office as part of the process. Students tend to struggle with this. They don't understand about what number to put. Again, a lot of us adults do as well. We need a number on line 5. Is your student exempt? Are they not exempt? I can't give tax advice. I don't know their tax situation and how many jobs they've worked in 2019. So this is something you would want to have a conversation. If you're not familiar with this form, I will leave one up here if you need to take a quick picture of the blank form to have that conversation with your student. I do have students call home. I have students Googling it. This is something that can also be changed. So we'll be finishing out 2019. If you didn't like the way the withholding fell for this year, they can pop back in my office in January, February, and we can fill out a new one for 2020. That doesn't roll off the tongue quite yet. Direct deposit, we encourage direct deposit. We don't require it, but human resources is about the furthest possible place off campus. It's on the other side of the pedestrian bridge on 30th Street. The reason I tell you that is if they don't fill out and turn in a direct deposit form, they will walk or get themselves there somehow because we don't mail checks anymore. So we encourage direct deposit. It does not have to be a local bank. This can be your hometown bank that they already use, or if you decide to use one of the banks on campus, whatever works for your student. Once they've completed their pre-employment process, we've got an online timekeeping system here at Creighton that's called MyHR. I'm not gonna spend time on this because their supervisor will train them on how to use MyHR, but what I do like to let parents know is this isn't a layer of responsibility for them to get paid. If they don't submit their hours on the deadlines, time card day is every other Friday, and payday is every other Friday. So Fridays are either a time card day or a payday. If they forget to submit their hours, they remember we can hustle on Monday and try to get it pushed through. But if they forget, and they forget again, and forget again, they're not gonna get paid. And we wanna get your students paid. If they forget and a few weeks have gone by, we will still get them paid. But it just is a skill that a lot of students don't quite have yet, is knowing that they are responsible for logging their hours, the old punch in the time clock to get paid. To wrap up, I just want to talk to you a little bit about the difference between my office, the Student Employment Office, and the Career Center. I like to think I'm kind of small potatoes. I am the kind of the port of entry for these first entry-level jobs and for all things federal work study. When your student wants to start to talk about internships, or I think I might have a resume from high school, but it looks pretty amateur. I really need to beef it up. I really get nervous with the thought about interviewing. That's the Career Center. They are phenomenal in getting students prepared for those next level jobs, talking about career goals, thinking about, gosh, maybe changing a major and wanting to explore some other career fields. And they are also in this building. They're right across from admissions. Edge internships are run through the Career Center. You will see these on Handshake though. And there are many times where a federal work study student gets in that entry-level job and then starts to ask for more responsibility, taking on more responsibility, and we think, and this happened in our office with Paige, who you'll meet tomorrow if you come down, she just kept asking for more to do, and not just stapling papers and filing. We really started to give her more responsibility. So our office, excuse me, worked with the Career Center to create an Edge internship at $12.75 an hour, which in Nebraska, that's a very desirable wage rate for a student. They get to work more hours. They're not restricted by federal work study. It's not just your basic clerical duties. These are available for 3 semesters. This is a nice bridge also to that real life internship that's maybe coming down the pike their junior, senior year. These are just a few examples of the Edge internships that are available on campus. Now, is your incoming freshman going to start to apply for these next week? No. But I just want to be able to show you the whole roadmap of their student employment possibilities here at Creighton. And even further down the road, if a student really wants to look for a position in a very specific company, the Career Center will help navigate that. If they're looking for a position in a real specific part of the country, the Creighton Alumni Network and the Career Center's networking is strong and far-reaching. Those are the basics of student employment. I'm happy to stay behind and answer any questions. Again, I really encourage you, especially if you have one of those original documents on you on your trip here to Omaha, I would stop down tomorrow and try to knock out that I-9. If not, again, please know that there's time to do that in August. But if it is forgotten at home, just know the student cannot begin working until that I-9 is finished. On a personal note, I'm excited to see your faces. I am the mom of an incoming freshman. My daughter Kate, our oldest and first to go off to college, will be a classmate with your children, and I was sitting in your seat, not for my presentation. She came last week to preview, and just such a great vibe from this class. So a welcome not only as Creighton student employment, but as a fellow parent of a Creighton freshman. So thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of your time at Summer Preview. Thank you.